We hear a lot about royal bastards in Tudor history. Mostly maybe sons of Henry VIII swirling around in rumors and speculative genealogy charts. But today we are going to skip past most of those usual suspects and really dig into the lesser-known illegitimate children of the powerful nobles. These are the kids who are tucked into the side notes of wills, the ones who shared names with their legitimate half-siblings, the ones married off quietly or launched into minor court careers, or in a few cases, who may have shaped Tudor politics from behind the scenes. So grab a cup of coffee, pour your water, and let's get right into it. Hey friend, welcome back to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. I am your host, Heather. I've been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009 with my show, which makes it the original Tudor History Podcast. I am so glad that you are here with me today talking about the illegitimate children of Tudor nobility. Let's start with Charles Brandon, the Duke of Suffolk, who was many things: gamester, court favorite, political survivor, and husband to Mary Tudor, the king's sister. He also had a knack for giving his children the same names, both the legitimate and the illegitimate, which gets really confusing really quickly. So in addition to his 8 legitimate children, Brandon fathered at least 3 illegitimate ones, a son named Charles and 2 daughters named Frances and Mary, randomly the same names as his legitimate children that he had with Mary Tudor and Catherine Willoughby. Let's start with Charles, the illegitimate son. Born around 1521, he had a solid military and political career. He fought alongside his father in France. He was knighted at Bologna and he became an MP for Westmoreland in 1547. He married an Elizabeth Strangeways, a wealthy widow, and through her inherited Sixton Castle in Yorkshire. Not really bad for someone who was born on the wrong side of the blanket, as you say. In his will, Charles mentions his sister, Frances Sandon, indicating a close relationship. Some historians believe that Charles and Frances, this is Charles Brandon's son Charles and his sister Frances, that they might have had the same mother, although her identity is unknown. Frances married twice, had several children. Her son Ambrose carried on the family name into the next generation. The third sibling, Mary, is a little more obscure. She married a man named Robert Ball, whose family had connections to the Willoughby household, the same circle that Charles Brandon's final wife, Catherine Willoughby, came from. Mary disappears from the records after her marriage, but her husband attended Cambridge and came from a well-respected gentry family. These children were not scandalous secrets. They were part of the social fabric of the upper gentry. Brandon didn't parade them around at court, but he didn't disown them either. And the fact that 2 of them shared names with their legitimate half-sibling, that's either really careless or also weirdly sentimental. I'm not sure. What do you think? Next up, a quiet but fascinating figure, Helen Tutor, the illegitimate daughter of Jasper Tudor, uncle to Henry VII. So Jasper never left behind legitimate children, but he did have at least one acknowledged child, probably born in Wales. Helen married William Devereux, and their descendants would eventually include Walter Devereux, 1st Earl of Essex, and by extension, Robert Devereux, favorite and eventual traitor to Elizabeth I. So yes, that would make Robert Devereux the great-great-grandson of a Tudor. But it gets even better. There's a long-standing theory that Stephen Gardiner, Bishop of Winchester and Lord Chancellor under Mary I, was also Helen's son, which would make him Tudor by blood, and possibly Jasper's grandson. So if this is true, it would explain a lot about how he managed to maintain influence across multiple monarchs. It's not proven, but it is a tantalizing possibility, and it reminds us of how informal dynastic ties still mattered deeply in a world where bloodlines ruled everything. Now, technically, we're stepping just before the Tudors with this one, but it is too good to leave out. Richard III, the last Plantagenet king, had no legitimate surviving children because his son, of course, died while he was still reigning, but he did acknowledge at least 2 illegitimate ones, John of Gloucester and Catherine Plantagenet. John of Gloucester is sometimes called John of Pontefract. he was appointed the captain of Calais, a major post that was usually reserved for men of real standing and loyalty. Even though he couldn't inherit, Richard gave him titles and responsibilities, and that suggests a real deep trust. There's even speculation that Richard may have hoped to find a way to legitimize him if things had gone differently at Bosworth. Now, Catherine Plantagenet, Richard's illegitimate daughter, married William Herbert, Earl of Huntingdon. This wasn't some quiet marriage into the lower gentry. Herbert was a major nobleman, and the match gave Catherine a strong place at court. Her life after Richard's death is largely undocumented, and like many Plantagenet connections, she may have been quietly removed from the political chessboard by Henry VII. Both John and Catherine, though, show us that being a royal bastard didn't necessarily mean obscurity, at least while your parent was on the throne. But after Bosworth, their fortunes changed fast, and neither of them left a trace past the early years of the Tudor dynasty. Now let's jump to a name that everyone knows, Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester and Elizabeth's longtime favorite, probably true love. While he was carefully managing his public image and proximity to the Virgin Queen, he also had a relationship with Lady Douglas Sheffield, a noblewoman and courtier. And with her, he had a son, Sir Robert Dudley. So Robert Dudley, Earl of Leicester, Elizabeth's favorite, never publicly acknowledged his son during Elizabeth's lifetime because doing so would have shattered his already very precarious position at court. But after Leicester's death, his son tried to claim that his parents had been secretly married, which would have made him legitimate and potentially eligible for noble titles and claims. Now that effort failed. The Star Chamber ruled against him, and his bid for legitimacy became one of the more public and messy noble disputes of Elizabeth's later reign. Sir Robert Dudley eventually left England in frustration, moved to Italy, and styled himself as the Duke of Northumberland. He worked as a scientist, naval architect, and author, a wildly talented man whose future might have looked very different had his parents made things official. So when we think of Tudor bastards, we usually picture Henry VIII's mistresses and their sons, or the big dynastic crises. But there's this whole other world of illegitimate children just beneath the surface, kids born into wealth and power, quietly supported, occasionally acknowledged, and sometimes erased when the politics changed. Some, like Helen Tutor or Frances Brandon, carved out respectable lives through smart marriages and family loyalty. Others, like John of Gloucester or Charles Brandon the Younger, rose high for a while only to vanish from the records when they were no longer useful. Their stories didn't make it into the big sweeping narratives, but they are there in wills and family trees, in stained glass windows, and in the tangled mess of Tudor court gossip. So we will leave it there for now. If you made it this far in the video and enjoyed it, I sure would appreciate a press of that like button. You know what it does? It helps to feed that algorithm and get our content to even more people. And I hope I earned your subscription to my channel where I put out content like this on the regular. I hope you enjoyed this discussion of illegitimate Tudor children. Had you heard of these before? Let me know in the comments. And also let me know which Tudor scandal you think I should cover next. If you want to keep watching videos on illegitimate Tudor children, here's one on Henry VIII's illegitimate children, the lesser known ones that you might enjoy, or here's a video that YouTube thinks you will like. Thank you so much for being here. Remember, you are deeply loved. I'm so glad I share the planet with you. You make the world a better place, and I'm glad we are here together. I will be back very soon, and don't forget to drink your water, friend. Bye-bye.